Hello everybody, I'm John Parmalee, and I was hoping to take you through some of the more detailed rules of Skullduggery. Skullduggery is a game where players compete with each other in some fictional city. The city doesn't have a name, maybe it could be your own hometown. And because a city has so many different locations, each city will have many different that you pick at the beginning of the game. We use location cards to keep track of the various locations that we'll be using inside this particular game. You'll notice plenty of space on the cards to write unusual traits or aspects, but we'll get to that in just a moment. After all of the players have the locations for the game, they'll be setting aside for themselves different special character roles. These are the characters that you play in the game, so they're already made. There's no character creation process. Every single one of these has a list of unique traits and special powers. The Devil's Advocate, for example, has the ability to create contracts, conjure up false evidence, and effectively make people believe whatever he wants. The Creepin' Pet can devour anything with an unholy beast that lives inside of its backpack. The Tortured Soul is a ghost that can jump from body to body, always leaving evidence behind in its wake. Each player will have all of these special roles, and they have locations set for them inside this city. But the point of the game is determined by the players. Each player is given goal cards. These are made out of plastic, so you can write on them with dry erase marker. The goals are something that relate to a common element chosen at the beginning of the game. Maybe it's a briefcase has something significant in it, or it could be a spell book containing many diabolical spells. Everyone will write a goal, somehow relating to that common element, and they will be shuffled and randomly distributed to each of the players. Each of the players now has a goal and a special character and a city with locations in which to do this. The game now starts. Players will randomly decide a first player, and they will take turns around the table describing their actions. An example would be, I head down to the Quickie Mart. Maybe if the Quickie Mart was located inside the game. Maybe the action would be, I set up a trap on the door. The important thing to note about these actions is that you're not describing your intent. You're not saying that you wish to attack a person. You're saying that you kill a person. It's a game of successes and not intents. Every action is going to be described this way, and if a different player at the table has a problem with these actions, they can speak up. They say, no, I don't think that works. I call for a reality check. Reality checks are the game's way of keeping everyone in check. You may have noticed that I haven't mentioned a game master or a referee. That is because everyone at the table is in charge of keeping the game checked this way, which means everyone can speak up and call for a reality check. It's very simple. The person attempting the action can explain why they think they should be able to succeed at the action, and the other players will make an argument for why they can't. It is put to a quick vote, and if the vote passes, then the player in question will have to roll. Let's go ahead and go do a quick example. Let's say that the first player is playing the Devil's Advocate. The Devil's Advocate last move was to move into the office complex. Here at the office complex, he has chosen his next action. He says, I wish to take the baseball bat and break all the windows in the office complex. Now, I have another player who doesn't think that it's likely for a baseball bat to exist in an office complex. So he calls for a reality check. The Devil's Advocate says, well, these executive types, they're very weird. They have eclectic things in their office. Maybe someone has it randomly. Where the other person who called the reality check would say, no, it's an office complex, it's professional, and you wouldn't find something like sports gear there. The other players not involved in this put this to a vote. Ultimately, they agree that, yes, it is unusual to find a baseball bat. So the Devil's Advocate has to take 2 dice. These dice are rolled. You take the highest of the 2. In this case, we'll pretend that one of them was a 6. And if one of them was a 5 or 6, then congratulations. The Devil's Advocate found the baseball bat he was looking for and continues with his action of smashing all the windows. If the Devil's Advocate had not rolled a 5 or 6, then he would have been unlucky in finding his baseball bat. Having failed his task, the Devil's Advocate now tries a different action. I find a flamethrower and burn the place down is his new action. This is called for a reality check. All the players put it to a vote and they agree that this is silly. You wouldn't find a flamethrower in an office complex. This is a vetoed action. It's declared as impossible. So, for example, if another player came along and tried the same thing, we knew from the previous action that it was not possible because it was completely vetoed by all the players unanimously. In addition to navigating around the city and performing various actions, you can also call upon resources that have been set aside for you. There are special agents, all part of this nefarious plan, and they have special capabilities that allow you to go outside of your normal boundaries. The seer, for example, allows you to learn the secrets of different locations. The supplier can get you almost any item that you need. The requisitioner can get through the red tape and acquire licenses, titles, and deeds. All of these actions are declared out loud, turn by turn. But say you wish to go ahead and do something without your opponents knowing about it. In Skullduggery, there is a way. You can take secret actions. Secret actions are performed by writing them on cards. When you are at a location and you wish to perform the secret action, you'll write it down, and then you'll place it under that location, so that the person in charge of that location will be aware of all the secret actions. That person is called the location's secret keeper. The secret keeper is in charge of making sure that any number of secret actions don't conflict with each other. Say, for example, I went and murdered someone particular, the judge at the courtroom. If I wanted to move along somewhere else, and someone else wished to come along and also perform a secret action where they murder the judge at the courtroom, I wouldn't be able to do that. The secret keeper of the airport would go ahead and announce that. No, there's already a secret action that prevents that, they would say. If through your actions, or the actions of others, you come into serious harm, you're effectively imprisoned, or you get an arm cut off, or you die, you will be out of the game. But fear not, you're not out of the game forever. You can choose to jump back in with mundane characters. These are characters that do not have strange supernatural powers. They're just normal everyday people with potentially more capabilities. The detective, for example, has a badge that allows him to get into various areas, a gun, which will help him in combat. The army vet knows 1,000 ways to kill a person. The man of the year is famous and rich and well-liked by everyone. While they may not be supernatural characters, they certainly have lots of different capabilities and can still compete and try for the goal written at the beginning of the game. All players go around the table like this, performing their actions, calling each other out when one of them tries shenanigans, until eventually they achieve their goal, where they will reveal it and claim victory. A final point that I'd like to mention is how Skullduggery is a game of context. The way that you achieve any goal without having anyone argue against it is if no one can argue with the logic of it. Throughout the game, you propose traits. So, for example, say the hospital was in play. The hospital, I can propose a trait for it. I'll say it's light on nurses. So in the empty space provided, we would write that, light on nurses. Maybe someone did something horrendous to it. They performed an action which set the hospital on fire. So we would propose a trait, on fire. Now when I perform a certain action, I have to keep those traits in mind. I've developed a context of the situation that determines whether or not any given action would be successful. Players can also have these contexts and traits put on them. Matter of fact, each character already starts with 2. The creep and pet, for example, starts with inconspicuous and tough as nails. So he can call upon these traits when performing certain actions. He does this simply by naming them. I wish to sneak around and walk into the office undetected. I'm inconspicuous. And this way, if another player wanted to call shenanigans or call for a reality check on it, they probably wouldn't succeed in their vote because my logic is sound. I am inconspicuous. The cards provided in the game are useful reminders and full of very excellent images. They are not the full rules. Always remember to check the rulebook for the extra details involved with each character's power. Make excellent use of the goals and the secret action cards. On the back of the secret action cards are small time boxes. If you want to go ahead and note what time you did the action, that way you can keep the order of such things in check. We've gone over a lot of things in this video, and there's an awful lot to keep track of, but I hope that it's gotten you excited and interested in the game. This has been a quick example of Skullduggery, and I hope that your plots and your plans are just as twisted as the ones that we've had playing here. Thank you for your time.